Everybody, welcome back to another episode of FSI DFS Fantasy NFL Picks. I'm Russ Megler with 31. I apologize. I cannot stop coughing, so it's going to be a very short video. In fact, I think I'm going to do this video backwards. So I'm going to go over the course with you, and then I'm going to get back to the sheet. I'm not going to do a game by game breakdown because there's no way I'm going to make it through without coughing 100 times. So I think there's an exciting matchup. The highest total, 49, is going to be Washington and Arizona. So Daniels or Murray, I think you want as your starting quarterback there. Harris in Pittsburgh gets the backfield alone because of injuries. So I think that he is going to be a really solid play there. Mason for the 49ers still hasn't been priced up. Yes, some of the weapons are supposed to be back in Debo and Kittle, but he should still have the lion's share of the backfield, and he's done pretty well with it. With Adams out and another one of their wide receivers, Tucker is going to probably be the top one, and he's only like 3K something. So definitely someone I want to look at for a cheap value play at wide receiver. Sorry, starting already. Deontay Johnson, I really like here as a wide receiver, just because he's done such an amazing job. Now he was a little bit banged up, but everything looks like he played. Ever since he switched to Andrew Dalton, he has been a much better player and looks like shades of like what he did in Pittsburgh. So I'm going to pay up for either Collins with Adele out or Diggs in the matchup with like Houston because they've got a high total there and should have a pretty good day. So one of the two of them, I think, is going to have a opportunity with one less wide receiver weapon in the arsenal there to go out and do well. And then a haul for the Jets, I really like. Uh, so at tight end, I mean, you can pay up for like Goddard or the Las Vegas guy Bowden without Adams there, or there's a lot of cheap ones that you can fill in there also. Um, because I think a lot of people will be on. I think it's was it Harris, the tight end for Arizona, that's taking over Higgins. So I think he'll be a pretty popular tight end for GPP. I'm going to stack Philly because I really like the matchup against Tampa Bay. It's supposed to be a close game. So Hurts, Barkley, Goddard, is where I'm building. If you want to throw in like Campbell or Dotson as like a really cheap wide receiver as another part, but I think those three are going to be the offense. Running back with Godwin, he's just been so solid this season with catches and having floor. Chubbard Harbor running backs a nice cheap piece, and I think people are going to forget about the Saints. So I'm going to throw Shaheed in there because Olave is a little bit banged up. Kamara is questionable also. So I think after last week's dud, people are going to be off him after the first two, but I want to go back to the well there in a GPP. I also kind of like the Jets defense here if you in GPP if you have the money to pay up, just because and Cleveland also because I think those are two defenses that people won't pay that much for. Cleveland's actually not that expensive, and with the Raiders losing Devontae Adams and Myers and their running game hasn't been great to start the season. I think there's a lot of upside there potentially for them to do well. So just looking over the sheet here, if you want to drop out, that's perfectly fine. If you have any questions, put them in the chat below. Uh, and next week we'll be back for a full video. But if you want to continue on with me, I'll try to power through this. If I'm paying up Mahomes, Stroud, or Hurts, mid range, I think is where people are going to go mostly in cash. Daniels, Murray, or Burrow, who came to life and Monday Night Football starting to look better. Cheap one, Fields, Caleb Wilson, and Deshaun Watson. Not touching Herbert, Minshew, or Brissett. Love might be back, who makes an intriguing one. Herbert also, but I just don't trust the Chargers, Los Angeles Chargers offense right now. If I'm paying up for running back, like I said, Barkley, I really like with all the weapons gone in Philadelphia. Hall, Bijan Robinson's and Kyron Williams are always solid picks if you can get up to them. Middle range, like I said, Mason, Brian Robinson from Washington has been solid. Uh, Jones in Minnesota and Connor in Arizona with McBride. He might have a little bit more offense there. Cheap range, Hubbard's been solid. Harris with Warren out, Moss for Cincinnati and Ford for Cleveland. And I'm not playing Dobbins, Mixon coming back from the injury potentially. The Tampa Bay like situation is like both White and Bucky Urban, so there might be a really cheap running back starting there. I probably wouldn't touch it. I'd probably lean more on the wide receivers at that point. And then Stevenson has a hard matchup for New England. For wide receivers, Collins is going to be your top guy without Dell there, I believe. I mean, shares with Diggs, but he's obviously the priority. Jefferson's always there and low owned just because of the Minnesota quarterback situation, but I think he's okay. Rice might get overlooked too because Kansas City hasn't been on the slate. I think they've had a couple primetime games, so people might forget about him or not be able to pay up for him. And then Harrison for Arizona is starting to break out, and without McBride, should have more target share. And Chase looked really good. Like the rust is coming off from the offseason and starting to um, blend in a little bit better with Burrow. So I think the concerns of him are gone. Mid range, like I said, Godwin's super solid. Love him. I mean, I didn't play him cash. I know him in the GPP stack, but cash is fine for that. London for Atlanta's been solid. As it digs his opportunity there without Dell, and Wilson for the Jets. Deontay Johnson, like I said, in the cash lineup is good. McLaurin, I think, is going to be very popular if you're playing Daniels to pair him with him. Uh, the other one I liked on that was Brown. He didn't get a bunch of catches, but he had a bunch of targets. And I just remember he was on Houston last year. I forget what his first name was. Last name is Brown for Washington. He's a more expensive one. There's two of them. But I think he's like only 3K or something. It's just definitely somebody that I really like playing. Actually, if you look down at the bottom, I have him as a cheap running back there just because I think he could be sneaky and there's a lot of potential there in the cheap range if you're want a piece of the Washington offense and you don't want to go Hurts or Brian Robinson or McLaurin to pair with Daniels. I think Brian Robinson, even though he gets catch out of the backfield, if you're playing Daniels, is kind of counterproductive because Daniels runs a lot too. Higgins for Cincinnati being back and Pickens for Pittsburgh there has a decent matchup. And then if you're going sub 5K, like I said, Tucker's going to be super chalky, 3K guy that should have a huge target share with Devontae Adams out. Dortcher Wilson also are the wide receivers there that might pick up a little bit of slack without having McBride in Arizona. And then Dotson and Campbell are the wide receivers that pick up the slack from Smith and Brown being out for Philly. Big Goddard's going to be, if you're paying up for tight end, makes a lot of sense there because he's going to be the number one target for Hurts without those top wide receivers. Bowers is going to be a good one again without Devontae Adams for Las Vegas. And then Kelsey is still around, even though he started off the season pretty slow and some say out of shape, too much Taylor Swift. But he could always have a breakout game. And Kittle should be back, but I don't know if I really trust. I want to see him play a little bit before I know he's sound. Plus, there's so many weapons on that team too. Pitts in the mid range. There's always solid. Ertz, if you want somebody to pair with Daniels, and then Schultz and Komet was like the number one wide receiver on waivers. I don't get it. Like he first couple of weeks were terrible. He had a good game last week, so does that mean he's like back and he's like a huge factor? I don't know. I don't want to see more, but I threw him up here just because I'm intrigued. Gesicki, Parkinson, and Fryermuth are always good in the cheap range. And if you want sub 3.5, I think Higgins is going to be popular. Strange from Jacksonville is starting to get involved in the offense and one of the more sure things out there with them struggling a bit to get the season. I think it's like more Trevor Lawrence. It just, he's I don't know if he's injured or it's just something on his head or so, or if maybe the pass protection, but he just hasn't looked the same as he has in the past. So, but Strange has been a nice like safety valve for him. And then you have Atkins and Kraft are out there too for Cleveland. And if Love is back for Green Bay, he was one that really started to benefit from him in the first game over Musgrave. So, and Musgrave's a little banged up too. So I think Kraft could be a sneaky play there. Defenses, definitely take the Rams, and they're cheap, and Houston's in a good matchup there. So those are your best buy ones. If you're paying up, Jets, San Francisco, Kansas City, can't go wrong with any of those. If you're putting Atlanta or Philly, it is Baker Mayfield. If they do have no running game, they're going to have to pass, and Eagles can has a decent secondary and can get after the quarterback, and Baker can make some mistakes. He hasn't been as prone as he has early in his career, but potential still there. And then solid plays, like I said, Cleveland against Las Vegas with losing a lot of their offense, and Adams not have a running game, and Green Bay has a solid matchup too. I'm avoiding the Chargers in Carolina. So stack wise, Washington and Arizona, I should take either QB there, either Daniels or Murray. Harrison and Brown is wearing a pair. If you want to put McLaren there or Ertz, I'm fine. But I said Brown, I just um, have a feeling with him. He's just been so solid. Let me just look up. I've been talking about him so much to get their first name correct. It is Noah Brown. Yes, there we go. Noah Brown. Remember that name. Cincinnati and Carolina, Burrows. I'm okay if you go Dalton there too, but I think Burrows could probably get you 20, 25 DK points here. DeJounte Johnson, if he's in, and then run back with Chase. If you want to run back with Higgins, I'm fine with that too. Philadelphia, Hurts, Goddard, and Godwin. I think that's a solid stack. If you want to throw the Philly defense in there and Barkley, just like I did with GPP. I didn't have the defense in there, but again, I think it went like Cleveland or the Jets in that build, but I think that that's going to be an interesting game. I know it's got a lower total than some of the other ones, but the Jacksonville Houston spread was just too much for me to consider it. The Philly Tampa Bay one, I think it was only like a 2 or 3 point spread, and then Pittsburgh and Indy at a 40 point spread, but should be a close game. Fields Robinson, if you want to take that, I'm good with that too. Harris, because Indianapolis cannot stop the run, and I think we'll have a solid day there. And then running it back with Pittman for Indiana. But if you want to run it back with somebody else from Indiana, I'm perfectly fine with that. And then finally, Jacksonville, Houston. Give me Stroud, give me Collins or Diggs, give me Kirker, Thomas to run it back. Thomas is starting to catch the ball, and some of the throws are bad, but he's got so much upside. But Kirk's always been solid there, so either one of them's fine. And then pick between Collins and Diggs, and I think you have a nice little solid core there with a nice total. So that's what I got for you. Hopefully next week, like I said, I'll at least the coughing's aside for a second half. So if those people that dropped off, I'm sorry about that, but you'll never know. But anyways, again, if you have questions about chat below, hit me at Megor31 on Twitter/X. And if you videos help us back, like, subscribe to our channel, and share with your friends. So thanks for watching. If all goes well, I'll try to tomorrow morning get out the Monday Night Football breakdowns for the two matchups. And I'll try to get NASCAR out today too. So thanks for watching. Good luck in your contest. If you have any question, you know how to get a hold of me, and I will see you next time.